And this is some more Alpha 18 footage and walkthrough of the Perks by Madmole himself, also Joel from the Fun Pimps. So I've gone through a lot of them previously, and now this time we're going to look into the Intellect. And as you walk through this and as you watch it, and I watched it for the first time, I'm going to give sort of my off-the-cuff views and commentary of what I think this is actually doing to the game, what the implications are, and you might agree with either me or Madmole, but I would love to hear from you in the comment section below. And as always, the more feedback we can generate and provide back, the better it is for all of us, because again, Alpha 18 is not here yet. They still have a lot of time to, well, hopefully not too much time. I still have some time to tweak things and rearrange things and change things up a little bit. And again, they do have the general perk system and progression system already there, so making changes I think are not extremely difficult for them, but we need to provide the feedback so they can balance things.
Intellect here, the electrocutioner. So this is you learn how to use stun batons. So we've got a new stun baton model. I don't have an icon for it yet, but so we've got this stun baton, and I'm not even going to go on the gameplay on it, but I just wanted to show you guys the model. It looks pretty cool. But yeah, you can go up and I think you basically charge it up and by using it, and it builds up a charge, and then the stun will light up when it's ready to go, and then you smack somebody with it and they get stunned. But this is the Intellect character's main weapon.
Interesting. So I think that having this kind of capability makes sense. But does it really make sense? Again, what they've been trying to do with the previous ones is to make sure that each attribute tree has one kind of a close combat and one kind of range combat ability. And I guess for the Comet perk they're doing for the Intellect is a stun baton. I mean, it sort of makes sense that you can craft it. Let me just go back. I'm not really sure this really makes that much sense. Again, it depends on how good it is. How does it differ from a club? A club, presumably you can stun them, and this one also stuns them. Does this one have more stun but less damage? So do you then carry two weapons, meaning one to stun them and one to bash them and kill them? How do you balance that one out? We're going to have to see how that plays out. Unfortunately, he didn't really go through all of these ones. It would be nice to see what the last one do, but I guess it's the high quality stun batons, and I guess maybe 50% more damage and stun them 100% longer, etc. Again, my concern is with, I guess, medium late game, having one of this one so you can actually create a basic one might be useful early on, but late game when you're seeing ferals and stuff like that, will they really allow you to stun them? Can you stun an irradiated one? If you can, then it makes sense. Then you just stun that radiated cop and then you kill him, as opposed to him just blowing up and killing you, the white. But if you can't even stun them, then having a lot of perk in this is just waste, because then you just want to kill them and not worry about stunning. So potential is something that can be useful if you really can use it even late game. But then balance issue. Can you really stun all the radiated zombies? If you can, is that overpowered? Maybe, maybe not. We'll sort of play it out and see how that works in the game. I think it's at least a nice thing that they are sort of playing around with things and adding new things. So this will obviously be a new weapon. So that's cool. And just a final thought on this, because they are putting that in the game, you could imagine that being, again, part of mods changing things out. I mean, maybe you have a stun turret, that tastes zombies as opposed to, killing them. I know they have a flamethrower somewhere, but maybe that's what it's going to go through next. But having a taser turret would make sense, maybe stunning them, sending some volts through them so that they stun, as opposed to outright killing them. That might make sense.
With it and they get stunned. But this is the Intellect character's main weapon, and then his other weapon is a turret. So you can craft these junk turrets and deploy them, and they shoot pretty much whatever comes. You can also fire it, in first person.
Well, did you notice the junk turret has quality, but the auto turret and the shotgun turret did not? Interesting. I wonder what the implications are of that. Are all the turrets going to move towards a quality system? And how does that apply for damage and ammo use? And I mean, it would be interesting. And I think it would actually make sense that a low quality turret made by someone would be less effective than a high quality. Maybe shoots a little bit slower, maybe does a little bit less damage, maybe it doesn't track as fast as a high quality one. I think that might be really interesting if they put that in even with the turret. Again, to premier high perk levels crafting things as opposed to, well, if I can make a shotgun turret, it doesn't matter which level of science or perk, whatever I am, it's all going to be the same.
I think I need some ammo, like some scrap iron. Where's the scrap iron? I think that's what it shoots yet. We'll see. Yeah. So it's not super... Man, we haven't... Oh, F6 menu's not working. Why not?
Oh. What? The scrap turret is actually a handheld one. I thought it was a deployable one. Maybe it is deployable. I mean, it looks like something he's carrying that he's going to shoot with.
Not. So you can shoot it manually. Oh, I put it in placement mode. It doesn't look good. You're ruining my video.
All right, so it's both. It's both shooting it manually and a turret that you deploy. Interesting mechanic. It's a little bit like engineers in some FPS where you can build up gun placements and stuff like that. And here's literally you can shoot it manually carrying around. It looks like it's, well, sorry, I was going to say it looks like it's a little bit big to carry around and shoot, but now when they deployed it looks so small because maybe it's mostly in the ground. But it's an interesting concept actually. Maybe that's something that you could imagine being extended even to the shotgun turret and the auto turret, so that you can sort of use them manually, but you place them down and they work. You notice it doesn't require any electricity. So it's sort of a self-generating one, and maybe it has a battery pack or whatever in there. So that's interesting. So it might be an early way to get some defenses as an intellect player without having to sort of perk up and craft all this electricity stuff, which tend to be a little bit more mid-game rather than early game.
Shooter. Oh, I think it shot me. Don't step in the line of fire. Oh, man. Guess we have to work on getting them working right on terrain or something. Yeah, so it finally killed her. Anyway, they're a lot of fun. You pick it up, and then you reload it. Like, yeah, I guess there's some bugs with this. Great. All right, we're back. All right, so that's the turret. You'll be able to deploy those, and you can craft better ones with each rank, and I believe they do more damage, and they get a little faster fire rate, and so on and so forth. And we really haven't even done much balancing on it yet, so what you saw was kind of a placeholder, but they're going to be really, really cool, and you can shoot it in first person too. This has bartering and a daring adventure.
Actually, coming back to that turret, that's actually a really cool thing. You could imagine that early on as an intellect player, you craft two of them, you go into POI, you put one to guard your back, that will shoot, and of course it'll alert you if something comes, and then you carry around the second one and use that one to shoot. Interesting way of doing it. Actually, I like that. I like this. I think this is on the right track of adding things that are actually cool and sort of expands the way you're playing the game. So I think that one's nice.
Chromatic Nature, we still need a rank 5.
Chromatic Nature was always interesting, and actually if you notice, and I saw that it only has 4 ranks, and Madmole immediately went on, oh, we need a rank 5. No, you don't need rank 5. Maybe it should only be 3 ranks. Maybe it should be 4. Maybe it should be 2. The problem with this one is that it's entirely focused on groups, on parties. Single players don't help. Maybe you should give something for yourself as well, because it gives everyone else better, but you don't actually get better at all. So you inspire people to do better, but you crap yourself. So it's a little bit of a funny perk. It works well in parties, but even Alpha 18, Alpha 17, it had a lot of bugs. So I think that people weren't really taking it because it wasn't really triggering properly. But again, I liked when I saw 4. I didn't like when he said he needs to bring a 5th level in there. Do it differently. They shouldn't all have 5. Everything is not equal.
Rank 5 for that. And then once again, crafting, your ability like to craft these turrets is based on your rank here. So as you can see, craft good quality turrets, you know, craft great quality turrets, so on and so forth. So the best gear is found in loot, you know, and your crafting is kind of like middle of the road. So if I crafted these, you know, you never find, can't craft the pink ones, but you can find them. But if I were to craft this, it would take the median of it, you know, right down the middle of what the low and the high is. And I don't know what those numbers are off the top of my head, but it would craft the average one. So you'll probably, you know, it'll give you.
So Madmole here in this sentence mentions two things. One, you can never craft purple items. Good or bad? I think that's a little bit dubious, actually. If you are the expert, why can't you craft purple stuff? You can only find them. Maybe the traders don't even care, but let's assume you can buy them. So someone is good enough to craft purple stuff. Why can't you as a player be good enough to craft purple stuff? If no one can learn to craft purple stuff, then how are they even made? You could say, well, you know, someone who's got a lot of experience, well, then what's the point of having our perks? The point of having perks is that you become the master. You can see that with even the naming. You're like one of the best ones, but you still can't make purple. I think that one is, I can understand why they're doing, but I don't quite like that, because a lot of us, they want to perk up so they actually can be really good at it. But now you say, well, you can be quite good, but he says middle of the road, and even the damage. So let's say for tier 5, and this seems to be the highest craftable. Let's say this one goes between 20 and 30. Or let's say it goes between 20 and 40, but let's say 20 and 30. That allows you to only craft 25. So when you find a blue one, it can be up to 30. That's considerably better. Maybe you find a purple one, it can be 35. So you can only craft max 25, but you can find or buy 35. That's really weird, actually. I mean, if you're the best at crafting because you have the most experience in doing that, why can't you make the best one as well? I'm fine with having, and that's the second part you mentioned, having randomized per quality, but why isn't it randomized when you're actually crafting it? If I want to make 10 of them, let's say there's a span between 20 and 30 for blue tier 5, why can't I make just a bunch of them until I get the max one? If I want to make these ones all day and waste a lot of time and resources, why can't I make them until I find a melee damage 30? Why is it always going to be 25? Because that's the midpoint. A little bit weird way of doing it, because obviously someone is crafting them higher. Someone did that because you found it. So someone has crafted. Why can't that be you? I think this part, I definitely think they need to change. They need to lie to be really good. I think top of the line, because if you can't be it, then who's going to be top of the line? If you have 50 people on the server, no one is really good apparently, because no one can craft top tier things. It doesn't make sense.
Give you a little more incentive to loot, but you're not going to craft a dud. You know, we thought about, well, that players have random crafting quality, and we thought, well, I'm going to be really disappointed if, like I can show you guys.
And I don't think it's about random quality crafting. It's about the actual values. Having a fixed quality per crafting makes sense. Having a fixed a parameter or variable or bonus on them doesn't make sense if you can't get the max. That's the part that I think they need to rethink.
AK-47. Oh, I guess, it doesn't show you the recipe now until you actually, wait, does it? Oh, there we go. So that's another thing that again that's really cool, is we show what unlocks it now. So if you're like, oh, I can't craft this, what do I do? You click on this and it says, oh, you can craft it if you have the machine gunner perk, or if you find the AK-47 assault rifle schematic. So it kind of lets you know.
And that's an interesting thing, and this is actually exactly what Jake put into his model. It feels like they've copied that from his as the idea. Maybe it's not unique, but it's a way, I guess, and this is how Jake used it for his firearms one. Basically, you can either perk up and learn things, or if you find a schematic, you can actually craft it. I'm not sure whether this is one use, if you're using the schematic, or whether you just need to have it in order to be able to craft it. Not really sure which way I would prefer. I think it's nice though. If you have, let's say, Well, that's interesting. What quality? If you find the schematic and you haven't unlocked the machine gunner perk, what quality level do you do? Maybe it's all Q1 because that's the lowest you get. Because it's now disconnected from sort of an overall intellect ability. 1 point in this one basically negates this one, right? Because as soon as you have one machine gunnery, you can craft assault rifles, and of course LMGs. They'll all be tier 1, Q1, but you don't need the schematic anymore. Interesting. I think this one, interesting mechanic. It probably needs to be evolved a bit. Maybe there should be different quality tier levels on this one and make it one use. So Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. So you can find a Q4 schematic that is better than anyone else, but it'll give you a Q4 assault rifle once you craft it, even without having the machine gunner. That might make it really interesting. Maybe too overpowered, but at least it's an interesting mechanic to have in.
I thought we had hyperlinking in too, to where you click on this and it's supposed to open that skill up, but I don't know how to do it, or it's not working. Oh, there it goes. You click perk. Gotcha. See how it highlights this perk, and then you know, okay, if I buy this, I can craft an AK-47. So we've got a lot more intuitive, crafting system coming, and we're still fine-tuning things, but I like it. I like the direction we're going with this. So. Yeah, the quality is dictated by your rank in AK-47s or machine gunner is what's going to determine how good your crafting is. So it's no longer tied to intellect. Everything's whatever governs it, that dictates the quality. So better barter. None of these have really changed. We just give them fancy names and kind of like some flavor text. Advanced engineering. Oh, vehicles, people are going to think, well, how do anybody can craft a vehicle now. The perk just lets you craft the parts. So if you can find the parts, then you can assemble one without these perks. But if you're like, well, I want this, I want to craft a gyrocopter. So if you really want it that bad, buy these perks. And we're probably, like I said, the same thing with, we don't really want to do any just unlocks. We want to add abilities to here too. So if you find the schematics for the mini bike, you don't really feel disappointed that you bought this. So we're going to add some passive perks. Not sure it'll be 18 or it'll probably be 19 because we're planning vehicle mods in 19. So that's when these will probably get that. But it's like, I bought this one, I'll admit it. I got tired of looking for all the schematics and the parts. So I flat out bought this one. It's like, Intellect 2, that's nothing. So I bought 1 point of Intellect. It cost me 2 perk points to get a bicycle, So if you want to get going right away, you can do that. And if not, you can grind and find the schematic, or just buy one at a trader. I mean, we were playing the other day, and excuse me, Sasha, our lead QA, he saw a motorcycle for sale at the trader, and it was like 20 grand. I'm like, how are you gonna get 20 grand? He goes, I'll get it, you watch. And he just kept doing quests and looting, and sure enough, before the trader reset, he saved up 20K and he bought that motorcycle. That's pretty cool, So you've got options to go to the trader now to buy vehicles, and none of these are, we're doing exclusive builds and testing where you're not even allowed to buy anything except one tree and see how the game plays. And people are finding that it's plenty adequate. You can mine, get plenty of resources mining and scavenging and from traders to build a fort. You don't need these, and the augers are so good that it's kind of like, well, you don't really need it. If you find an auger, you'll be set, and you really don't need any of these perks, but some people want to argue that they have to have this, and and if you have to have it, buy it. But it's still pretty cheap. Like for my agility character.
All right, so before Madmole goes further down that line, I think that was an interesting part where you was mentioning again about if you unlock the vehicle perk, let's say bicycle or mini bike, and you then find the schematic, then you can make it, but they are aiming for where the perk will give you something extra. And I think this is a good way of sort of trying to balance keeping the perks relevant as you play versus having a schematic or an easy way to access it. And I think that's a tough way to balance. But I think they're on the wrong. I think they're on the right path. That they're trying to say, fine, if I can make a bicycle, then it's going to be better overall than if I just find a schematic and I follow it and I make myself a bicycle through that one time off. If I have the skills, overall I'm better. I'm not sure what they do. Maybe it's again, it's an extra bonus that applies to that vehicle. So maybe let's say you have a perk of bicycle, and then you can craft yourself a tier 1 Q1 bicycle. Maybe it's 5% better, faster, stamina, handling in general, compared to if you just bought it from a trader, right? Maybe it's some kind of passive effect on the item, not a mod or anything, but simply because you're better at it. That might be one way of doing it. It's not entirely realistic, maybe in the way of having a passive effect, but sort of, again, to keep things relevant. And I guess that comes across all the perks. If you want to make schematics a sort of shortcut for achieving it, you still want to give people who have the perk a reason to have, because ultimately, how many motorcycles do you make in a game? You're playing single player. How many motorcycles do you make? One, probably. Maybe two if you lose the first one, but you only make one. Maybe they need to tie, for instance, again, and this is something that you changed from Alpha 16 earlier to Alpha 17, in that in Alpha 17, maybe it was Alpha 15. Someone let me know. But in some earlier version, let's say you have an auger, you didn't have the perks. You could use it, but you couldn't repair it. In Alpha 17 and maybe 16 as well, you could actually repair it as long as you had it and you had the repair kit, I believe it was. You could repair it even without having the perks. And that's something that maybe that's what they need to bring back as well. So maybe you can use the bicycle, but it's going to degrade maybe more than it does right now based on usage. And you can't service this because you don't have the perk. So what do you want to do? You want to buy another one? Maybe. But maybe you want to perk up so you actually can do the maintenance. And maybe the maintenance will keep it running better. Actually, yeah, that might be interesting. Maybe it gives you better until the next servicing. Maybe that's a way to do it, so that you give, as you repair it, you give it some passive bonuses actually maybe on the item. So if you service it for someone else, for your friend, let's say you're a master crafter of vehicles, if you service the vehicle for a friend, it will run better, even for him, even if he's not a master maintainer, master engineer. But if someone goes in and does the servicing next time, meaning repair it, then it loses those bonuses, or gets new bonuses rather, based on what his skill level is. I think that might be an interesting way of doing it. I don't know how they would achieve that in the code, but again, that would be a way to keep things relevant. So if you have the perks, you repair/service it, it gets to be better than if you just bought it, because presumably it was just an average one at that point. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will catch you next time. Hopefully soon again, that they are providing more of these videos.
Special thanks to the great patrons supporting the channel. If you would like to join the vetted community and support these videos, do follow the Patreon link.